Hello, everyone. Welcome to Breaking Free podcast. I'm your host, Nathan Francis. You all know who I am. Adrian D'Amico, welcome back to the show, mate. How smallest intro ever. What's going on?
Yeah. Hey, it's great to be back. Happy New Year.
Yeah, you too. How was your New Year, Christmas break, and all the things? And yeah,
It
we'll
was
just
amazing.
shoot the breezy.
Yeah. Everything was great, man. I moved house, so it was really busy, super busy, moving, working, all that kind of stuff. So I'm really happy with how everything's going now. Kicked off the new year with a couple of big goals and a few little things that I'm going to change within like the podcast, within my coaching, my business life. Because most people don't know that I'm purely a business guy, a lot of people know me for my podcasting. They know me for my I guess outspokenness in terms of, trying to maybe knock some sense into the world and maybe be a place for people to kind of rest in a sense of being the person who speaks out and says the things that they want to say or they're thinking. But nonetheless, like I'm a business guy. I've ran businesses and been in working for myself since I was, geez, like 17. So yeah, I've got a side, or when I say side business, I've got a real-time job, in terms of businesses and things like that. And then outside of that is my podcasting, working on a book, which will lead into a program, which will lead into a workshop, which will, sort of like scale up into, different things. So really excited about this year.
Yeah, awesome, man. What's the book entail?
The book is a compilation of basically all of my teachings. So it's kind of like not a storybook or not an amazing depiction of my life and my sort of rags to riches story or some bullshit like that. It's actually a compilation of all of my teachings that I've kind of like put together over the last 5 or 6 years and condensed it into a book. So it kind of has, some real life stories, but it also has some real tangible ways of improving your life. It's called Awaken Your Higher Self, and it's all about just putting together your life in a sense where you've got different domains of life. You have obviously like work and family and career, and you've got holidays and business, and you've got your health, and you've got relationships. And I kind of like summarize all of those areas and put it into 5 pillars and work into values and beliefs. It's a very, very in-depth book. So it's kind of like a manual, but also something that you can kind of scribble and write notes. There's online downloadable sheets and all that kind of stuff. It's becoming quite a beast.
Yeah, nice, man. Love that. Yeah, good. Welcome to the space of authors.
Yeah, 100%. Well, soon. I've been
Yeah.
working on it for quite a while, man. I don't know if you've ever decided to sit down and write something, but particularly when you've got like a whole heap of training around different things that you've done over the years. In my coaching life, I started in 2013.
Yeah, right.
So I owned a
Oh,
real estate business and
I was still in
I
high school.
there you go. So I started a real estate business well, I should say I was in real estate. I've been in real estate since like the early 2000s. And I had my real estate business, my practice, and I started teaching business owners how to market themselves using social media. So back
Mm.
I was using my own kind of like video marketing and things like that. We only had YouTube. Facebook was around. There wasn't much I don't think Instagram was really a thing. If it was, I wasn't on it. It was just sort of a non-existent thing.
Mm.
We never really had like Zoom or anything like that, or fancy cameras or, microphones and shit like this that we have the blessing of having today. I had this sort of shitty Sony bloggy that I bought from JB Hi-Fi. I had an automatic zoom. So every time I would talk with my hands, it would kind of like go in and out of focus, and it was really fucked. If you want to go and have a look at these videos, they're all online.
Oh,
I've never seen any of them. They're all on YouTube and things like that. And it's not like I was an overnight sensation or a YouTube sensation. I didn't really get millions and millions of views or anything like that. I was showcasing properties that I was selling. I was
cool.
telling people about how's the market, about market conditions and climates and things like that. I was kind of walking people through sales processes and how to sell your home, how to style your home, how to get the maximum price. So I wanted to become like what my coach at the time said, an information agent, not an ego agent, right? So I just
Okay.
and beat my chest and tell everyone how good I was. I was wanted to tell everyone all the information, the knowledge that I knew, right?
Mm.
So from that point on, I kind of did a couple of courses and programs. I went and saw Brendan Burchard, did a 4 day retreat with him, and it was kind of like opened my eyes to the world of coaching. So my immediate kind of like pull towards what can I do in the coaching space, I was already doing because people were saying to me, what are you doing? Like, what are you using? You know, what video equipment are you using? How do you upload the videos? How do you get natural in front of a camera? What do you do about Facebook marketing? How do you sort of get ebooks together and all that kind of stuff? They were already asking me that. I had a community show. It was called Wollongong TV. I used to meet
Hey.
business owners. Like it was all of these things. So I already cut my teeth in that, and I was in the coaching space. So um, like I've been sort of on this sort of path for quite a while. Um, and then again, I was just like, business was my main port of call. And then it kind of developed into mindset because, I would meet someone like yourself, Nathan, and you'd say, hey, listen, I really want to get my business, as a teens coach, and I want to do self-sabotage and help me get this out in the marketplace. And I'd be like, yeah, no worries. Here are all the things that we do. But then, as you know, as a coach, when you're talking to people, all of a sudden you get to know them. They get to divulge some of the things that are going in their life. And then you realize that half of your session, maybe three-quarters of your session, is not really talking about strategy or systems or procedures or marketing or copy or anything like that. It's talking about their fucking life.
Yep.
It's talking their shit girlfriend or terrible husband or whatever it is, and you're just like, okay, well, let's work through all of that. And then I would draw upon my own life because I've just got such a um interesting, unorthodox and also just like everyone else, I've got my problems with relationships, marriage, kids, all that kind of stuff, business. So then you kind of relate to them all, and then that just sort of moved me into, well, if I'm helping these people more with mindset than I am with business, because it's kind of like once I got their mindset right, their business will go
Mm.
right, to take off. But if I just focused on business and their mindset was not being taken care of, that would be their stumbling block. That would be the mooring line that would hold them back.
Yeah.
So that kind of worked into other workshops and events, and things like that. And I had this event called Breakthrough for Success. I teamed up with a buddy of mine, Scotty Frankland. He was doing emotion coaching. I was doing sort of like, values, belief systems, goals, all that kind of jazz. And then we teamed up and did that for a couple of years. So, like I'm sort of painting a picture that from 2013 to now 2026, like I've just covered a lot of ground. So, my idea around the book was to have something that lived beyond me that could help more and more people that didn't cost, hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. It was something that I can kind of just exponentially, um, I guess, push around the world, because I've got a global audience now. So it's super exciting, man.
Yeah, I love
I'm
that.
really, really happy.
Yeah, well, I've written a book too. I've written a Breaking Free, Teens and Young Adults Guide to Identifying Their Addictions and Overcoming Them. So I've done that as well. I did that 4 years ago now, just during all the
Yeah.
COVID stuff, mate. Didn't take the jab and
Mm.
went through my own journey and discovered that I really love writing and I had some stuff to share. And yeah, did the same reasons as you, except I haven't got 13 years. I only had like a few months, but I already had yeah, just bloody wrote the book in like 6 weeks, and it was during all that rain we had in that time as well. There was flooding in this area too, so yeah, can relate to a lot of that, man.
Yeah, man. Well, I don't like writing. I mean, it's not that I hate it. I just, not the best at writing. I get distracted pretty easily. There's a lot of things that get in my own way in terms of my own self-sabotage. So it's taken me a while to put this together. And what I was sort of alluding to before was like, because I've got all of this many years of training and videos and things that I've done, online courses, I've uploaded them all to YouTube and I've got them in some sort of downloadable booklet somewhere. So I've kind of gone through my garage, through old fucking books and bags and shit that I've stored everywhere and thumb drives and all that kind of stuff. And I've loaded it all into ChatGPT and said, kind of help me out with compiling all this information. I don't know if you've ever used ChatGPT, but it's fucked. It's like it's the most narcissistic piece of shit friend that you've ever had
Agreed.
because it kind of like um, gaslights you in a sense. It praises you and tells you how
Yeah, mine
well.
says awesome work, brother.
Yeah, that's right. This is going
What?
to be an amazing book. You're going to touch a lot of lives. It's going to be
Yeah,
so great. And then
yeah.
5 minutes later, fucking forgets everything that I just told her and said, "Oh, I just lost all of your shit. Upload it again." You're like, I'm going to destroy you. I had a running joke the other week. It's just like, if you ever hear of someone getting like killed by a flying laptop out of a building, that person with a laptop was using ChatGPT. They were fucking losing their mind because all of their shit just got lost, in one heap. So anyway,
Yeah,
bit of a
nah.
struggle, but
Can
I'm
relate
getting,
to some of that. But a lot of people, back onto that though, like a lot of people will put their whole life in this thing, and that's the big beast of the thing. But I'm a big believer in, we can use this to build what we want to build to save time. Like I've gone through all my old articles I wrote on my old website. I'm like, let's jazz this up, keep it all the same, but like
oh,
modernize it and put in like I want certain information, like maybe some resources and stuff. It's good for that sort of thing, but mate, you got these young people that I see today, especially in my area, they're all putting their life story in there, trauma dumping, using it as more of like a coach. And it's like, I don't
yeah.
know. I think people like us are going to use it to sort of build what we want to build to save time so we can do other things rather than sit here and you know what I mean? Like even for like videos and content now, like I use a Opus clip for this podcast. It makes a clip in like 2 seconds.
I told
Saves
you, man.
me. Yeah, you did. Saves the screen recording job. You know what I mean? Like we can use it to build our life, but we don't have to trauma dump on there. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's funny you talk about this because I've been having this conversation recently a couple of times, and I've
Of
listened
course you
to
have.
it about um, just like all sorts of things that are going on. Because if you listen to, say, have you ever heard of a guy called Peter Diamandis? He
No, I don't
talks
think so.
a lot about AI. He
Yeah.
talks a lot about longevity and the future of medicine, the future of technology. And he also talks a lot about how, with technology and using things like that, you can come up with, say, for example, some sort of a system that can diagnose you in a way that says, okay, Nathan's got this predictability about maybe being a diabetic, getting cancer, whatever it is. So it kind of has a health element to it. And then he's like, at the moment, and this is several years ago when he started doing this, at the moment, this is costing, I don't know, $25,000 for someone to go through this process. But over the years, he's started to sort of like, demonetize a lot of the processes and decentralize it and make it sort of more affordable. So his goal is to get it from 25,000 down to 1,000, and then from 1,000 down to like a couple of $100, where people can kind of get, anyone around the world can get this high level of information. So the reason why I preface that conversation with someone like him, because you look at him and Musk and all that kind of stuff, they're like, AI is going to take over humans, right? So, and you can see people adapting into AI. I was kind of really, not too hot about it. But then
Same.
again, you can upload an hour-long podcast. It cuts it into 30 videos. Like, for me to do that personally would be a nightmare. For
Yep.
me to outsource that to someone to do it would cost a fortune.
Yep.
So for time poor individuals and for people that don't have the money and all the rest of it, it's a godsend, right?
Hmm.
Where I have a challenge with it, and this is where, if you listen to, for example, recently Tony Robbins is saying this, is where people have got like AI girlfriends and AI boyfriends.
Yeah.
Like you said, they're dumping all of their shit into AI. This is the problems that I'm going through. And as you know, AI sort of placates, a lot of its responses are really kind of like just supporting you in a positive light. So it can almost guide you off the cliff, and you convince yourself that it's the best thing
Yeah.
because it's hardly challenging you at all or giving you an alternative point of view. So I have a very strong opinion of it because, like, my book, Awaken Your Higher Self, is about not abdicating any of that to anyone or anything or any entity. It's actually like, channeling it from here and understand
Correct.
that, you have the AI and the robotic and the computer system and everything that you ever desired is here. If you can tap into that and channel it properly, like the answers are all within. Like it sounds biblical to a large degree, right? So it's just
And
like,
cliche.
yeah, and cliche. So it's like that's my thing. I think to train your higher self, which is voice, and some people call it God, and some people call it your authentic self, and some people call it Nathan. It's just like that to me is where the essence is in terms of learning the difference between that inner voice and maybe like I don't know, your ego or some outside influence. So that's my opinion on it. I think it becomes very dangerous when you're leaning on essentially a robot that's or an algorithm that's scouring the internet to feed back answers that you're making life decisions based on, which is to me like that's wild.
That's what's going on amongst our youth of today. It's what I'm seeing and hearing, and I'm just like, yeah, I think people really want that in-person, person-to-person connection, and that's in our nature, and that's not going to change. Doesn't matter whether we have AI or robots or fucking whatever else is coming. It's like you can't beat that real human-to-human connection.
Mm.
So that's
Yeah,
never going to be defeated. I don't think.
I agree. However, there is a challenge because it's inconvenient to get that in-person
That's
interaction,
true.
that experience, right?
Mm.
So if you take relationships, for example, well, if you're relying on AI and porn and things like something that is just, it can never reject you, then, it's going to be very hard for you to integrate into a relationship without going through that fear of being rejected or having someone say that they don't have the same feelings as what you have with them. And that's not even including just any interaction and conversation and things like that. I mean, I know what it was like for me as a youngster wanting like having the courage to go and approach a woman to talk to them and things like that. So it's now the stats are very clear. Then you would know this more than me. So it's like people are getting older and older and they're getting further and further away from having meaningful relationships with the opposite sex. It's
Uh,
just, you know, it's something that is prevalent in society.
It is, yeah, very prevalent. And, a lot of the young boys I talk to, they won't, here we go, throat chakra. They won't go and approach these young girls because, they'll go on TikTok and do a video about how they were approached and harassed and, well, you know what I mean? Like, there's that element too, but then there's that element of like, then there's the flip side. Like, there's women that I speak to, they're like, I want to be approached. So
Mm.
it's like this catch 22 of you're damned if you do and damned if you don't. And the
Yeah.
bloke's sitting there on his hands going, fuck, I don't know what to do, bro.
Yeah. No, look, I agree, and I think like anything, practice makes professionals. If you don't sort of have these interactions all the time, or make a point of doing it and getting uncomfortable and being in a position where you are in a 3D conversation, then it just becomes very easy and very convenient to default back to online, Netflix, porn,
Yeah.
AI, like whatever that may be. So. I agree with you. I personally desire the human connection, right? So if I had my way and I had the ability to do so, and eventually I will, it'd be like I'd just rather get you in person and just have a sit down and do that kind of stuff, right? The reason why I want to get back into workshops is the same very thing, and I think that a lot of people need to realize that in order for them to get that human connection, they need to step outside of their comfort zone. They need to travel, whatever, 30
Yeah.
minutes, an hour and a half, somewhere to kind of go and see someone if they want to come to an event, for example. And I really think that that's something that people need to kind of train themselves into because the habits they've created is that it's easy just to go online. So part of my strategies this year, Nathan, I'm not sure how you feel about this or how much you thought about it, but it's just like this phone is a problem, right? It's
Yeah.
the doom scrolling and the sort of getting caught up and stuff, and the fact that I've got a lot of my work on there, it's a problem. So going back to the laptop and just sort of using email, for example, just on the laptop and not on my phone wherever possible. When I do sort of like, quotes and orders and things like that for my business, it's kind of like just sitting in front of the laptop. It's taking time out where in the mornings, for example, it's just like putting the phone aside, reading a physical book. So I'm training myself to sort of get out of that problem or that habit myself. And I'm
Mm,
fully conscious and fully aware of what's going on. So
yeah.
yeah, this is a challenge for a lot of people. But also, just I might add, if you're not already thinking about sort of getting away from the digital landscape, I mean, that's kind of where I've gone with social media and things like that. I dabble here and there, but for the most part, man, I want to exit from all of it. I want to I want to utilize it to my advantage by having people, sort of know me, like me, trust me, and I can spread my message that way. But I just want to pull people into an event or a workshop or something where we can sort of bond and get together and have that 3D experience.
Mm,
Um, but
yeah.
again, it's sort of like sad statistics out there at the moment because a lot of people are forming addictions and relationships, and it's just one of those things where people are it's very sexy to kind of and sleek, and it's obviously programmed to help you feel like this is the way of the world. Everything's just going this way, and yeah, kids are more separated, families are more separated. Singles are all like everyone's being single for longer. People are focusing on more things that are into do with their phones and comparing themselves. Like it's just
Yeah.
diabolical. So I see it coming full circle, but
Mm.
there's there's a ways ahead of us, I guess.
There is, and you're throwing in another layer too. Like this system's made it so people are more busy now.
Mm.
You add in the hyperinflation, all the things. People are working longer. Then their kids are in bloody daycare and schools for longer, and they're not spending time with the kids. And then there's like all these layers upon layers upon layers. It's like, well, you know, we've spoken about it for many, many moons now. It's like, well, it's all here for a reason. It's all here for this actual purpose to separate the humans from each other.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Man, we're going through it. Like,
we are.
just, it's one of those things where I think it's, I personally feel like I need to have some sort of finger on the pulse just to be in touch with what's going on in the world, right? Because it allows me to assess my landscape and maybe plan as to what I'm going to do, how I'm going to respond or react, or how I'm going to strategically sort of maneuver myself around certain things
Yep.
that are going on. COVID was a great example of like, how do you position yourself in a way that you can escape this thing, which is, essentially coming for you, right? So
Yep.
I'm not talking about the virus. I'm talking because I don't think it ever existed. I'm talking
Neither do
about
I.
governments and all this sort of shit. But now we're in the throes of digital ID and then hate speech and all this
Yep.
kind of stuff. And you can see immediately people are self-censoring. Like they're sort of Anyway, so everyone's an enemy, everyone's a shill. It's someone else's fault and someone else's problem, and it's just all divide, 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 and separate. And then it's just like, man, it's easy pickings, you know what I mean? When you've got people that are just so far away from each other and not connecting. So I try and keep a pulse on it and a finger on the pulse, but I also have to sit back and go, you know what? There's things about my health which I need to focus on.
Yep.
There's things about my mindset that I need to focus on. Just my sanity, my psyche, just how much I'm connecting with my kids and my woman and, all that kind of stuff. It's just like, these are all important things. So finding that balance is a tricky, but, not impossible scenario.
Mm. Yeah, 100% agree. And it's the same with the phone too. And yeah, it's unreal that like someone your age has been like hooked on this thing when you're a kid, there was no phones around at all. So it's crazy how that happens too. And for me, it's the same, like leaving it at home when you go somewhere or,
Yeah.
even just having it in another room, you go to sleep. And yeah, it's just something I want to focus on this new year as well, is that it's just that phone screen time. Like it's a fucking trap. But, for me, it's like I want to use it to create rather than consume. So,
Agreed. And I think if you can create that boundary with it, it's and hold that boundary firm, it works.
mm,
But again, it's it's sexy and
yeah.
and it's addictive and it's designed that way. It's a fucking poker machine in your hand, it's got all the bells and whistles and the flashing lights and everything going off and giving you dopamine hits. Like I I don't know if this happens to you or if it happens to anyone listening, but I can get a notification on my screen and then I look at it and then I flick onto maybe Instagram or whatever. And the moment I put my phone down, I get another notification, right?
Mine does that.
I pluck it down and it goes bing. That's it. There's a snap or there's something else. I'm like, it fucking knows when I'm putting it down, and then it just pings and then it kind of gravitates back again. So, the amount of times I get this thing and I just go, whoa, and I chuck it across the room and I just go, fuck off, like get off. I just don't want, I
Do you
know
know
it's
what
not.
else too? Like mine like if you have it on loud and you have like this tone of like a message tone, right? I could
Mm,
be just unpacking the dishwasher, fucking hanging the washing out, and I'll hear that freaking ding 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 tone. I'm like,
yeah,
and then you go to check it, and there's nothing there.
man. Yeah, it's like that phantom vibration in your pocket and shit like that.
Yeah.
The thing. And brain waves like, they're frequencies. Everything in life works off frequency. And people need to understand that this thing that we use so conveniently is picking up on frequencies. And as esoteric and um sci-fi as it sounds, it picks up on thoughts. And I've tested this just about things that I'm thinking, and I'll go, okay, I'm just gonna put this thought out there and man, I'll get an ad about it. You know what I mean? It'll
Yeah,
be
same.
won't even fucking say anything out loud, and
No,
it'll be delivering some sort of information that is exactly what I'm thinking, and it's freaking scary.
it is. Yeah. It's fucking wild, isn't it? And
Mm.
it's only gonna get it's only going to get worse, and people have got to sort of do what we're doing and be like, okay, well, what's the boundary here? Set aside half an hour to have a bit of a look around, and then do other things. You know what I mean? Like a lot of our young people today are sitting on this thing bloody 24/7.
Yeah. Well, look, and it's going to get back to basics. So a huge value of mine is health, and I'm approaching my late 40s. I'll be 48 this year, so I don't want to say I'm approaching my 50s. I'm trying to block that out of my feels, But health is a huge value. Being active all the time, and it's one of those things where I'm I'm working on my kids constantly about getting sunlight, getting out into nature, exercising, moving the body, and giving yourself a fighting chance to be the best version of yourself. Because then it flows on from health into mindset. Like if you're feeling shit and you're inside and it's dark and you're on your phone, like yourself, you're just compounding all of this um problems. They're just mounting on top of each other, and eventually it seems like it's insurmountable, but the moment that you move your body, it starts to dissipate. It starts
Yeah.
to through your system, and things aren't stagnant anymore, and they start moving. So I think people, if they're not on this path already, really need to double down on their health, because we're in a situation where it's not just about going to the gym or going for a walk or getting in contact with nature or grounding. It's like everything that you eat. It's the air that you breathe. It's the water that you drink. It's the nutrients that you put in your body, and from which country and where you're sourcing this food. And where was it shipped to, and how long has it been on the shelf for, and whether it's sprayed or injected or whatever it may be. So like, there's so many things that we need to focus on. But then you've got something outside of that. We've got our relationship. So, what are you doing about that? What are you doing about your relationship with yourself, and how you think and how you feel and how you act and how you handle your emotions and how you regulate under stress and pressure? Because we are under like what seemingly an insurmountable amount of stress and pressure to perform all the time, as you alluded to before, because sure, the cost of living is exponentially going up. Like it takes a lot to break even these days. I remember when my kids were young and we go to the shops and spend $150 and you get, three-quarters of a trolley full. Man, I can go to and spend $150 now. I got four fucking things, a tray of meat and some milk and a few things. I'm just like I've got nothing, right? So yeah, these days, in order to get ahead financially, you really need to be smart with your money, and you really need to be intelligent in terms of how to make money. So as you know, like I lost everything in 2022, 23. I kind of like had to close down a skate park, and I lost, over that time, millions of dollars. I'm only now in 2026 getting to the point where I've paid off most of my debts and getting back on my feet and starting a new business. And like I said earlier, picking up the coaching side of things and looking at ways, and I'm investing in certain things which are online and offline and all the rest of it. So, but I'm being super critical about where I put my money, how I make my money work for me, what kind of wealth creation strategies am I investing in, because it's going to become one of the most important decisions that you make here on out, for at least for the next five years or so, because we're going through this monumental shift globally, financially. Like there's so much happening at any one time. So the reason why I'm saying all of this is because I just feel like now more than ever, it is so important to focus on all of these things, focus on becoming the best version of yourself, and also arming yourself with information and knowledge that you can then apply into the real world in order to get to from where you are now to where you want to be in the next, like I said, 3, 4, 5 years time. So that's not a lot of time for people to start to make really clever and decisive actions in order to get to where they want to go. You with me?
Yeah, 100%. Yep. And it's about having a plan. A lot of people don't have a plan, so they're sitting on their hands waiting to be whatever. It's like have a plan and as you said, have that discipline, build that patience, resilience, and discipline and just yeah, invest time and money into things that are gonna build your life rather than destroy it.
Hmm. Well, we're in interesting times, and
We
like we
are.
were alluding to before, with AI, like we're in a moment, like particularly with say my kids. Like my kids are almost 14 in a month, 16 in 2 months, and then 20 at the end of the year, right? So they are in a precarious situation that, for example, in my lifetime, we grew up analog. Everything was around, for me personally, was around trades. And then you kind of went through this digital phase in the 2000s. There was this, the dot-com boom and all that kind of stuff. Over from 2010 onwards, it kind of got more digital, smartphones, all the rest of it. Now we're at this stage where, like, I got my first smartphone when I was 27, right? So, yeah, and my kids at like 11 and 12, and they're getting smartphones. So they're in this information age where they've just got like all this digital stuff at their hands all the time.
Mm,
They're in a position now where when it comes to AI and it comes to that sort of monumental shift as happened in, industrial age and all that kind of stuff, like it's kind of like it's we're on the precipice of all of that changing. They're going to be in the throes of like, what do I decide to do with my life that is going to enhance my life, my knowledge. It's going to support the fact that maybe a lot of the jobs that I once thought were available may not be available. It may be in the hands of whatever, robotics or AI, whatever it may be. So they're in a precarious situation where they really need to think about where their life is going to head in terms of technology and how they integrate with all of that. So again, it still comes full circle in terms of they need to know themselves. They need to really get in touch with their mind, body, and spirit and make sure that they're acting in accordance with their highest values and belief systems. They're not, they're living congruently with those. And they're not being sort of drawn towards something that's sort of sexy, or they're not being led down sort of like the slaughterhouse when it comes to what society thinks that they should do. So they're in a position now where they really need to make sure that they kind of understand themselves and where they're going to head, because AI and technology will eventually just sort of, do this crossover. And in the next 5 to 10 years, the world's going to be a different place.
yeah, it is. It is. What do you see it being? It's
In what way?
like technology,
Well,
a change in all the systems that we have. Like, everyone talks about the age of Aquarius and that sort of stuff too. Like, what do you see in the next 5, 10 years? Get the crystal ball out, Adrian. Let's go.
My crystal ball doesn't work, and I don't know anything about the age of Aquarius. I can guarantee you that much. All
Yeah,
right. Look, I think you should probably be aware, if you're not already, that a lot of the technology that we are seeing now is what they created, what's been created 10 to 15 years ago.
yeah,
So from the knowledge that I've gained and the things that I've seen over the years, there's technology that's so far advanced like 10 years ago that it's only now hitting the market. So
mm,
when it comes to like AI and robotics and things like that, we're talking about like, breathing, sweating robots, that are very difficult to distinguish between men and women. The reason real men and women, the reason why I say that is because it's almost like the horse is already bolted. Those people that are engineering all of that have been onto it for years, and they've been sort of like pushing this slowly in the marketplace. And you can see with through propaganda and all the right sort of marketing mechanisms and the machine that works in the background to convince you that it's the best thing for you. You'll own nothing and be happy. And you can just focus on the shit that you want to do because robots are going to be doing all the heavy lifting for you. That has been happening for like 50 years.
yeah,
I think all of that technology will come to fruition anyway because I believe that it's already been created.
yeah. I agree too.
So where does it end up? Well, I'm not sure if it's going to be a great thing or not. And I guess, again, I don't have a crystal ball that works at all. So I think that there would be a separation and a segregation between between AI and just being sort of more analog and like
I
the way
agree.
we are now.
Mm,
Maybe there was integrations as such, but I think a large part of it, will be maybe a separation between those people and us.
yeah,
So I don't know how that will come to fruition, and that's just again like how I see things happening. Ultimately, I'll tell you what I would like to happen and what
mm,
I see going on in the world at the moment. Like, if you think about Nathan, like 5 years ago, if you said um, the banking system's corrupt and it's all going through one particular family or several families and they control everything around the world, like you would have just laughed. Like it's just even 5 years ago, you would have went, yeah, I don't know about that. So here we are in 2026, and I'm having conversations with people that I haven't seen for a long time. And, school friends and my brother's mates and things like that. Mate, we're talking about fucking Draco reptilians that live in the center of the earth. It's just like, how do you know about this? It's just
mm,
I thought I was the only crazy guy like looking into stuff like that. I'd seen it. So it's amazing the trajectory of how the conversations have like evolved in such a short period of time. So
yeah,
I've talked to this a bunch of times about this quickening that's happening, but I like to think that more and more people around the world are talking about an agenda. They're talking about this, elite group of people that are trying to control the world. And they're talking about vaccines. They're talking about um, the food and food dyes and chemtrails and all that kind of stuff. These are becoming very commonplace conversations. It's something that people are now woken up to. And even if you did go and get the jab and you were forced to do all those things, is my dog's going on. Um, and it's one of those things where, um, like, hopefully, mate, these guys, hopefully there'll be more and more people awake that will, hey,
I'll pause it. Had to get rid of the dog there, Adrian, but as you were.
great timing as always.
Yeah,
So look, my hope is that there are so many more people awake to what's going on in the world and at least conscious of what's going on. So I don't know about you, but I have conversations with just everyday people and I'm out and about and they kind of just say even things like, you know what, 5 years ago, the weather wasn't like this. Okay, we
Yeah,
didn't
I'm
have
hearing that
such
too.
extremes. You know,
Yep.
we it was more even, it was more balanced out. So they're kind of onto it. I've had people that go, um, you know what? Actually, ever since I got that jab, I haven't been well. I haven't been on top of my health. I feel like I'm just always tired and lethargic. There's definitely something in that jab, right? That sort of
Mm-hmm.
thing.
Mm-hmm.
But even if they're not full blown down the rabbit hole, that's fine. The fact that they're actually conscious that there's something going on outside of what they thought was like just life being hunky dory gives me hope that there are a lot more people that are awake now than ever. And that is only going to increase because of social media. So now we talk about social media, it's like it's this thing that's an absolute pain in the ass. And it is. But if you utilize it correctly, then it can be a force for good. Not everything has a double-edged sword. You can, what does Bob Proctor say? You can boil water to boil an egg, and you can also boil the man. Like it can be used nefariously, and it could also be a force for good as well. So my hope is that it'll get to a point where it's just out of control with what's going on in the world, and we're seeing that now, particularly in Australia and around the world, really. But we're seeing it play out at such a heightened level. And the only fear that I have is that most people get paralyzed by fear. And because it's designed to bamboozle you, like we've got a whatever fires and then a tornado and then we've got a shooting and then we've got, some guy, calling a bunch of guys, fags or gays or whatever it is, and then we've got the prime minister and then we've got Trump and then we've got, whatever. It's just like, fuck. Like everything's going on all around the world all at once. So to me, that is purely by design. It's designed to bamboozle you because when you're kind of like, I don't know which way to turn, well, what are you doing? You're standing still. You're a fucking sitting duck.
Yeah.
So, again, I'm kind of like just spitballing here, but I think there are way too many people aware of what's going on in the world, even to a small degree. And I don't personally care how you come to the light, as long as you come to the light. So if people are now waking up to the fact that Australia is introducing hate speech laws and it's silencing everyone, including politicians, from having an opposing view. So we're moving towards a one world government that just, shuts the fuck up and does what it's told. Everyone has to just toe the line. Well, I don't care if that's what it takes. I thought COVID was a much more like a alarm ringing situation than anything else. But here we are 6 years later, and it's taking hate speech laws for people to realize that their lives are getting squashed and they're getting we're living in a totalitarian government. This is just a communism wrapped in a fucking glossy paper. Like
Mm.
it's diabolical. But
Yeah.
I'm glad. Whether you come to the light, that's your journey. Like come along. I'm not screaming from the rooftops or anything like that. I'm not shouting like a madman in the streets, trying to convince everyone to come my way. I don't have any paraphernalia that I'm handing out telling everyone that the world's going to implode. I just like everyone will wake up at their own time, their own journey. But as long as we unite and we get together and we work together towards, again, it's almost a juxtaposition where you say everyone's divided and there's sort of like us and them, but there is a common enemy. And I think that we all need to realize who that is, and that if it's not each other, then we need to kind of like, you know, figure out and move towards a solution to that goal. And that time's going to come soon,
I
maybe
agree.
10 years, but it's definitely coming for
I
sure.
agree. And it's that human, like Jason says it beautifully. Jason Christoph says like there's more of us than them. There's like 8,000 of them. There's like 6 billion of us. It's like, well, at the end of the day, if we all came together, the power in that of us all rising and coming together, there's more power in that than the power they have. And that's why they tell us all the things and they say that we don't have any. But it's like
Yeah,
6 billion people come together for one common goal. You can't, like, no one can stop that.
no, not a
But
chance.
right now, they are trying their very best to stop that.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, again, if you want to just break it down to even a more simpler framing of your own position in life, you have an opportunity to buy in or not.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to even believe that. there are hate speech laws, and your voice is going to be silenced and all the rest of it. Like you cannot toe the line with all of that. You've got a choice. The same way with the jab. Like if everyone just said, I'm not doing it,
Yeah.
I'm not locking down my business, and I wish I had the courage to do the same thing. I wish I had the courage just to rock up every day and say, listen, I'm opening the doors, and it's not going to happen on my watch. But I think people are learning the lesson, if eventually they're just learning the lesson. But my point is, you don't have to buy into it. You don't have to abide by any of these rules and laws and things like that. Like
No.
you can be sort of, it's not a malicious obedience, but it's definitely civil disobedience. It's one of those things where you're kind of like, I'm not fighting anyone. I'm just not doing the shit that you want me to do. And
Mm.
I don't know how true this is, but I heard a couple of months ago before Christmas that Italy was upset with what's going on with their parliamentarians and all the rest of it, and they just said we're just not paying taxes.
Yeah, I heard that too.
We're not going to pay interest and all that kind of stuff. And I've jokingly like said this over the years. It's just like, 2 weeks to flatten the turds is was my thing a couple of years ago. You just stop paying utilities, stop paying your taxes, your BAS, all that kind of stuff, your interest, and just like they can't fucking come after everyone.
No, they
Like
can't.
a few casualties, but you just like, this if you're prepared to be the potential of being one of those casualties, and everyone just stays the course, I think eventually, like you're going to crush a country. If everyone
Yeah.
just those maybe two or three things, just stop paying taxes just straight away. Everyone, no BAS, no GST, PAYG, nothing like that. Just fucking cut it off. Cut the supply to the beast. Just cut them off
Yeah.
straight away.
And there's power in that too. And there's power in everyone just saying, you know what? Next election rolling around, I'm not fucking voting for any of you. I'm not going to fucking rock up.
Well, that's another thing, bro. It's
Fuck
just
yes.
like,
I've done that for the last 7 years.
sure, but I mean, it's just like, what are you voting for?
Yeah.
This whole thing at the moment is creating a divide. That it's immigration. Oh, it's the this and that. And man, come 2028, we're gonna fucking vote the next person in. It's like, dude, they're like two wings of the same bird,
Yeah.
right? Like if you just realize that, then the opportunity is not to go to vote. The opportunity is to say, I have zero confidence in you to run this company called Australia.
Correct.
So it's just like, um, I don't know, use a sporting analogy. Okay. So my local team, the Dragons. It's just like if you've got the coach of the Dragons and he's leading them to victory every year, that guy stays. He's pay increases, everyone loves him, he's the bee's knees. If you've got a coach that runs his team into the ground, I give you 2 years, you're fucking gone. Right? Everyone
Mm.
goes, Nathan, sorry, man, you might be a nice guy, but you can't run this team and get us to a championship trophy, right? We want to get to a championship, so you can't do it. You're out. And why don't we do that with governments? Why do we go, oh,
Yeah.
you wait, in 4 years' time, I'm going to make my mark? It's just like, bro, you guys get the fuck out. You're not doing this country any good. You're running it into the ground. Okay. We have no confidence that you are able to run this bit. Like if it was a business, you'd be gone, right? If you were
Yeah.
that, yeah, the banks will call your number and they say, sorry, we need to basically close you down because you're running your business into the ground. We can't keep lending you money. This overdraft that is an infinite amount that keeps piling up and you can't even pay the interest back, right? Let alone the principal. So it's like in any other scenario in on Earth, you would be shut down, you'd be closed, you'd be in jail, you'd be like there'd be some sort of a a what's the word I'm looking for? There would be a punishment. There'd be
Yes.
some sort of an outcome,
Consequences.
a consequence. That's the word I'm looking for. There'd
Yeah.
be some
Gotcha.
right? It's just like, but there's no consequences for these pricks, all right? They make diabolical decisions that cost lives, that fucking ruin the country, and it's just like, oh, next year, it's like, oh, come on. So I
Yeah.
think that's kind of where we need to go. We should say, listen, we, the people, don't like you, don't trust you, don't want you,
Mm.
right? So get the fuck out and we're going to appoint some people that we think will do the right thing by you. And I honestly think that we need a lot of little sort of factions or something like that. A lot of business people, a lot of people that kind of know numbers, that have not left school and gone into politics and just have no fucking idea of how the world runs. We need people that have real life experience and lived experience and all the rest of it to come in and kind of run this show like your accountant would,
Yeah.
or a proper business owner would.
The
Someone.
people that aren't that haven't got blackmail on each other, that aren't just going to say, look, the higher ups go, well, we've got this photo of you with teenage girls. You do as
Sure.
we say. It's like we got to rid that like this. It's a cult basically. We got to rid that first. Like, you and I could go in there tomorrow, but they'd probably put us in a situation where we're fucking sitting on our hands going, fuck, they're going to put, like, come to this party, Adrian. I've got a party for you. Come over here, come over here. And boom, there
Maybe.
you are, the teenage girl. It's like it's like we got to get rid of that aspect of it. Otherwise, we're just fucking we're leading our horse to water. We can't drink it.
Agreed. But you know what? The systems are already being created. We don't have to reinvent anything. I'm not sure if you
No.
ever heard about what's this guy's name in South Africa, Michael Tallinger or something like that. He's got this it's basically, I think he calls it an Ubuntu system or an Ubuntu way or something like that. And so when he looks at, say, a community of 5,000 people and he says, look, if 5,000 people contributed 3 hours a week to this particular community, then, math is not an exact science, but, we've got 15,000 hours a week of contribution to the community, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, everyone has a role, everyone has their own work to do, and everyone's responsible for making this community flourish. So, and there's consequences if you don't, but if you do, you have a thriving community, and everyone just puts in 3 hours a week.
Mm.
So there's an example, right or wrong or indifferent, I don't know. Like, there's an example of how we can. There's a system that's already been created. It's already been implemented. It's already in the process of fleshed out, like all the things that could go wrong, the things that are going right, and all the rest of it. It has its own place in society already. So we can
Mm.
adopt that.
Yeah.
There's a monetary system that we can recreate.
Build our own.
There's a internet 3.0 that we can recreate. Like all of the frameworks of everything that we ever needed has already been done. We don't have to reinvent anything. We can
No.
just create a new model.
And I think that's where we're heading back to. We're heading back to that community thing. You've got your garden, you've got your village, right? And then you've got everyone doing their part, doing their role. As you said, you could just put even 200 people on a piece of land with like a community and you'd still get the same result. I think that's what we're heading back to, I feel, because this system will do what it has to do and will collapse whenever it collapses. Like, well, we can then go over here and still use aspects of that, but build our own. I think
Yeah,
that's where we're heading to.
I hope so.
I hope so too.
It's
I just
gonna
think that's where
take
we're going.
take some coordination, but I think, yeah, sure. We're eventually gonna have to realize that if we're pitting ourselves against each other, we're gonna get nowhere. But if we form together and start to work towards a common goal, you get somewhere.
You do, yeah. Yeah, and I totally agree with everything you've said in the last hour. So if you wanted to wrap this up, mate, like what would be some advice to those listening that are, from your viewers and listeners, and then obviously advice from mine as well. So, what would you say to the people listening and watching now as some advice for to navigate the next little bit of time?
You ask me this every time, and
I do,
honestly,
don't I?
I think my answer is always the same. I don't have anything new to really offer, and the things that we discussed throughout this conversation, it just comes down to it always comes down to you and your role in this world and how you wish to navigate your life through it. So you have an opportunity. You can be at the mercy of every little which thing that goes on in the world, and whichever direction whoever wants to push you in, and you just like a leaf in the wind, just go with whatever direction it goes in, or you can like get to know yourself. You
Mm,
can understand your emotions and feelings, and you can understand your thoughts. You can do a little bit of work around psychology. You can do a little bit of work around finance. You can do a little bit of work around health. You can do a little bit of work around relationships. And eventually you can kind of work towards being a more whole and complete human being. And if you embody all of that newfound information and start to live it and be congruent with that, I think that that is a very noble path, and it leads to great things and more satisfaction and more happiness and more joy and more love and more connection. I mean, there can only become good things can become of all of that. So, and we've discussed all of that through this podcast and the several others that we've done. I don't think anything really ever changes because
No.
no one is coming to save us. I think that that is just sad but true. It's just like, or maybe it's not even sad. It's the way it is. Like it's just that story has been flogged to death. But if you look at what's happening versus what is said to happen, I don't really have any faith that that's ever going to come to fruition. So to wait around and sit on my hands, as you said before, it just becomes a stupid decision. Like it just becomes silly. Like
Mm,
why would you do that? Why would you
mm,
wait? Why
yeah.
don't you become the change? Why don't you be the change?
Yeah.
Why don't you encourage, inspire? Why don't you support, nurture, love? Like all of those things. And I think all of those things are, again, like they just lead to a happier, more fulfilled life. And even if you don't achieve all of that you set out to, the pursuit of all of that is encouraging enough. So the opposite, to sit back on your hands, to wait, to wonder, to ponder, to think about, to just maybe one day shoulda, coulda, woulda, didn't, and then get to your deathbed and go to your death with regret, like that's the worst to me.
Mm, mm,
That's the death of a thousand paper cuts to my soul.
yeah. I got nothing for that. That's just beautifully said. And, I think you say the same thing each time, but it gets more. I feel like you've gotten it more deeper and more. Yeah. It would be good to go back and listen to all the other ones, but that one was the best one.
Really, man. Well, thank you, man. I
Where,
appreciate
yeah,
this
same.
conversation.
And for people that are new to me and my platform, mate, where can people find you?
Yeah, sure. Look, less and less online now, but if you want to get to my podcast, and I don't mean to promote my podcast on yours,
Go for
but
it. It'll be on yours
Adrian,
anyway.
exactly right. The Conversations with Adrian podcast, that's the best place that I want people to find me from here on out. Just go to Spotify and all that kind of stuff. And I'm going to spread my wings a little bit more. And as I've already said, like I've got things in the works that are going to keep going from that point on. But that's probably the best place to find me. You can find me on socials and all the rest of it, but if you could go there, that'd be amazing. And then, yeah, there's heaps of information that's coming your way. So
Yeah.
yeah, that'd be great.
Love it, mate. And I love your show too. And you've got some good, you get good guests on. I listen to them and then I go, hey, you
The
just on
nuts.
Adrian's podcast. I'm in Australia too. Can I interview you? And they always say yes.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to this year. I've got
Same.
some like key guests lined up, and something that's just a little bit uh, like left of center in terms of what I'm normally doing. So I'm really happy to kind of explore that this year and see where it goes. Got a new look and feel coming. So yeah, everything's starting to really take shape. I can't wait.
Nah, I love it, man. And yeah, we say, actually, we have been good this time. We usually do it every 12 months. Now it's only been a few months since the last one. So it's good to connect with you again, mate. And
Yeah, same.
one day I'll get down to the Gong, or one day you'll come up here and we'll connect in person. I'm looking forward to that day.
Look forward to it too.
Yeah. Yeah. This has been the Break Free podcast, guys. Thank you for listening on Adrian's show as well. And we'll both chat to you all again soon. Cheers.